Hi, I'm Silver. I'm going to take you through a quick tutorial of how to install the Helicrash mod made by Dill. This tutorial will cover the total installation from start to finish. Okay, so what we'll start with, which is step 1, drag your downloaded zip from the mods folder, which you can see right here. And then what you want to do is place it in your own mods directory and then unzip it. Alright, and all you do is select all of them, Control X, which will cut them out of there. Go back to the add-ons folder for your mod, Control V to paste, and then these other folders here, we can just delete those now, we don't need them. Next is step 2. Open your DayZ tools and launch DSUtils. As you can see, DayZ tools, DSUtils, this is the one that we need right here. This program here will sign your unsigned PBOs. So what we need to do is copy them across into there, and then you just hit process files. Alright, so as you can see, it's just signed those PBOs. I'll assume you already know how to save your own key to your keys folder, so I will not insult your intelligence with going through the basics of setting up your own mod pack. Alright, now step 3. By this stage I assume you have already uploaded your mod to the workshop, so we'll now move on to the server side of things. Now you'll need to navigate to your profiles folder and find the mod called dill_mods. This folder would have been created after the first time you've started your server with the mod installed. Now, as you can see, it's not listed right here in my profiles folder, so I will start my server. I'll go back to here. Once it starts loading, as you can see, it's just created that folder. So what you need to do is navigate through to that folder, and then you've got Helicrash right here, the Helicrash JSON file. What we need to do now is open that. We can shut down our server for now. This is Omega Manager. Not everyone, of course, will be using this. You may have a different kind of server instance set up, or you might be running through a game panel provider. This here is on my own dedicated server. Okay, so we'll go back to here. What you need to do is open this. Now you can open it using your preferred code editor. I like to use Visual Studio Code for this. Okay, so what we need to do now is make a few adjustments to our helicrash.json before we can proceed any further. As you can see, there's already a few items here that are automatically generated. Now you go through and make all your different adjustments you'd like. Alright, so we've got here admin log. That's set to 1. Alright, so it's either 0 or 1 or on or off. Okay, 1 is on. That means it'll print any information to your admin logs. Enable plane crashes, that's set to 0. If we were to change that to 1, we would also end up with plane crashes as well as the helicopter crashes. Alright, next part, Helicrash spawn time. Okay, so this is how long it takes in minutes before a helicopter will actually spawn. So you can adjust this to any value you like. At the moment, its default is 30 minutes. Helicrash despawn time. This here is set in minutes as well. So this is the despawn time for how long it takes for that wreck that's already crashed to despawn. So after 60 minutes, which is the default value here, it'll despawn. Next part is the crash points. Crash points work off your coordinate points here. You can create additional crash points as you need. Now these values here, these ones will be taken from another file which I'll show you shortly. Now we'll just move on from these and go over to the helicopter. Okay, so you've got the start height. This is basically the height in meters of the ground, from the ground level of the map to where it's actually going to start spawning into the air and then fly across to your locations. You've got a minimum height value here, minimum height value of 50 meters. This also is determined by the terrain. So if you've got uneven terrain where it might be rather mountainous, it plays a factor with that. Speed, and then minimum speed. This is the speed of which that aircraft, or helicopter in this matter, would actually be traveling at. So it's got its normal speed there and minimum speed to travel at. Okay, maximum and minimum loot and weapons drops. Now, as you can see, the maximum we've got set here for loot and weapons is set to 5. Minimum set to 0. You can set these to however which you like, but basically this here is basically a 50-50 chance between having up to a maximum of 5 or having rather none at all that'll actually spawn. Now, it's unlikely you'll ever end up with anything spawning as a value of completely nothing or having everything that's going to actually spawn out of those values. It's normally somewhere in between. It's a randomized value. Okay, and then you've got the same thing here. So helicopter plane, this is for the aeroplane. This is where you can set your values for that as well. Next part is the animal spawn array. So here you can actually select certain animals to spawn if you like, to actually spawn within a set radius, whichever you desire to set, which is in meters. Alright, and that is from the center of the aircraft. And then you've got minimum and maximum, so you can actually set a value of how many of them you want to spawn. So if you want some animals to spawn, you can have a minimum and maximum value set there. Alternatively to that, if you don't want to have any at all, you can always just set those values to 0. And then when it comes to this one right here, you can just get rid of it like that. Next part, we've got zombie spawn array. Now, zombie spawn array, this is where you can set your zombies and the radius of which they'll actually spawn in from the crash site. So same thing again, you get your minimum and your maximum. Now if you wanted to create additional entries for more zombies, you can do so. It's very, very simple. It's just a matter of creating a new line, and of course if you know the class name of the other zombie, you just change its class name within those brackets there. But we don't need that, so we'll get rid of that. Now down to here, so Helicrash and plane crash. Alright, now this here is the loot settings. Alright, so this is where you can set what you want to have spawn in as your loot. Now this works off the class names of all the items. Now if you've gone this far with setting it up, obviously you'd already know where to find your types XML and you'd know where to find your class names. So you'd be able to set up these values rather simply, the same format as you can see set up right here on both of these. Now you don't have to double them up like this. You can have just one selection put in there for each item if you so desire. But the only items that'll spawn in on these sites is the ones that you set. Next part, you've got the weapon loot tables. Now this part here is where you can actually select what weapons you want to actually spawn at these crash sites. Now you can actually change a few different values here. So obviously your weapon, and then whatever magazine's attached, and then any attachments. So when it comes to an M4 for example, right, this one here, it's going to have a 30 round Stanag attached. It's going to have an M4 suppressor, and then sight right here. So it's going to have the M68 optic. When it comes to the other attachments, like the buttstock for example, that is not listed in here, so it's not going to spawn with that unless you actually set it. Now, just like other entries, you can set that in here as well. So it's just a matter of creating a new entry, and then we just change the name of it. Honestly, I cannot remember the name of the buttstock for the M4, but obviously you can go back through to your types XML and you just basically put it in there, so therefore it would spawn in with that. Other attachments like rails or universal flashlights, you can do the same thing and it'll add those attachments to it. So you can do that with pretty much any weapon you like. The only value you cannot set is have an ammunition loaded into the weapon itself. It'll have a magazine attached with ammunition in the magazine, but it will not have weapon already preloaded with ammunition. So when you pick it up, obviously you're going to have to cock the weapon. Okay, now step 4. What you need to do for step 4 is navigate through to your config event spawns XML. Now this will be located within your MP missions, and then whatever the mod is that you're using, it'll be located in that particular pack. So I've got the Esseker folder right here because I'm running the Esseker map on my server. So that's where you open up config event spawns. Alright, now this is where you just navigate through until you find static Helicrash. Now you've got all these coordinates right here. Now what you need to do is scroll back up to here where you've got your crash points. And it's as simple as getting those coordinates. So your X coordinates, copy them over, and you can place your X coordinates in there. Same thing, your Z coordinates, copy them, bring them across, lock them in. Alright, so that's one set done. Basically, if you wanted to do all of your different values right here, all the way down for your crash sites, you'd have to enter them all in, and then of course create additional entries for more crash points. Okay, step 5. Now what you need to do is start your server, and then basically it's all set. Your helicopters and also, if turned on, planes will randomly spawn and fly around towards their randomly picked crash points and then explode and fall out of the sky once they reach their crash zone radius. They can also be shot out of the sky if found flying overhead, as long as you've got a high enough caliber weapon to actually take them down. Okay, thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you.